Yeah. Uh, Yesterday I see a long night of mine. I couldn't sleep well. I think her. And our story. So noisy, so noisy from neighbor, from my cousin's couple, so noisy. For me, love is understanding, love is tenderness, love is kind, love is warm speed. Yes, not love's not loudness, love not noisy, love not angry with each other, love is not like that. So dirty, so noisy, so loudly. Irritated. Too noisy, so I can't smell anything. Yes, there are so many things that I want to speak today. Yes, really, first of all, so noisy from neighbor home. I can be within, I can be a marriage like that, full of problems. Many children to take care. How can I marry? How can I marry and how can I be online like that? So terrible. And yesterday I feel little tired. I can't sleep all the night thinking about story. And what's what I do at the moment? What must I do? What can I do to make our relationship get better? I know that everything can end. Yeah, right. It continues so that this one is here. She just keep talking to him, and he just keep talking. I get headache. Marriage life not suitable for me at all. Yeah, I really like that. And after all, I need a soulmate, a friend. Yes, soulmate and friend. Friendship is more important than love. Love without understanding is very terrible. Everything around me, my parents, my concern, my relation, or the measure. Yeah. So now I continue the awakening of the heart. The Diamond Sutra. Session 1. This is what I heard one time when the Buddha was staying in the monastery in Anapindika Park in the Jeta Grove near Sarati with a community of 1,250 bhikkhus fully ordained monks. That day, when it was time to mark the round for arms, the Buddha put on his Saranti robe and holding his bow went into the city of Sarati to seek armed food, going from house to house. When the ancestors were completed, he returned to the monastery to eat midday meal. Then he put away his Saranti robe and his bow, washing his feet, arranged his cushion, and sat down. Session 2. At the time, the Venerable Shakti stood up. And it's clean and clear atmosphere. So noisy. Why you just I don't know why she just keep talking, and the husband just keep talking. It's so noisy, so irritating, so exhausting, so tired. At the time, the Venerable Shakti stood up, bare his right shoulder, but his knee on the ground and folding his palm respectfully said to the Buddha, "Walk on the one. It is rare to find someone like you. You always walk and show special confidence in the Bodhisattva. Walk on the one. If sons and daughters of good family want to give rise to the highest, more fulfilled, awakening mind, what should they rely on and what should they do to master their thinking?" The Buddha replied, "Well said, Shukti. What you have said is absolutely correct. The Tathagata always brought and show you special confidence in the Bodhisattva. Please listen with all of your attention, and the Tathagata will respond to your question. If doctor and son of good family want to reply to the highest, more fulfilled, awakening mind, they should rely on the following and master the thinking in the following way." The Venerable Shakti said, "Lord, we are so happy to hear your teaching." Section 3. The Buddha said to Shakti, "This is how the Bodhisattva master the thinking. However, many species of living beings there are, whether born from egg, from the home, from moisture, or spontaneously, whether they have form or do not have form, whether they have perception or do not have perception, or whether it cannot be said of them that they have perception or that they do not have perception. We must lead all these thin beings to the ultimate nirvana so that they can be liberated. And then this is immeasurable, infinite number of beings have become liberated. We do not intuit think that a single being has been liberated. Why it is so? If Sakti, a Bodhisattva, holds on to the idea that a cell, a person, a living being, or lifespan exists, that person is not an authentic Bodhisattva. Section 4. Moreover, Shakti, when a Bodhisattva practices generosity, he does not rely on any object. That is to say, he does not rely on any form, sound, smell, task, to object, or dharma to practice generosity. That Shakti is the spirit in which a Bodhisattva should practice generosity, not relying on science. Why? If a Bodhisattva practices generosity without relying on science, the happiness that results cannot be conceived of or measured. Shakti, do you think that the spice in the eastern quarter can be measured? No work on the one. Shakti, can spice in the western, southern, and northern water be above and below being measured? No work on the one. Shakti, if a Bodhisattva does not rely on any concept when practicing generosity, then the happiness that results from that visual act is great at space. It cannot be measured. Softly, the Bodhisattva should let their mind buoy in the teaching I have just given. Session 5. What do you think, Softy? Is it possible to grab the Tathagata by means of bodily signs? No, Workahonored One. When the Tathagata speak of bodily signs, they are no signs being talked about. The body said to the Softy, in a place where there is something that can be distinguished by signs, in that place there is deception. If you can see the sign, the nature of sign, then you can see the Tathagata. Session 6. The Venerable Softy said to the Buddha, in time to come, will there be people who, when they hear the teaching, have real faith and confidence in them? The Buddha replied, do not speak that way, Softy. 500 years after the Tathagata had passed away, there will still be people who enjoy the happiness that comes from observing the present. When some people hear the word, they will have faith and confidence that hear the truth. We should know that some people have sit not only during the lifetime of one Buddha, or even 2, 3, 4, 5 Buddha, but have truth plenty who shall sit during the lifetime of 10 or 1,000 of Buddha. Anyone who, for only a second, give right to a bold and clear confidence upon hearing the word of Tathagata. The Tathagata see and know that person, and he or she will attain immeasurable happiness because of this understanding. Why? Because that kind of person not caught in the idea of a self, a person, a living being, a lifespan. They are not caught up in the idea of a dharma or the idea of a non-dharma. They are not caught in the notion that is shy and that is not shy. Why? If you are caught up in the idea of a dharma, you are also caught up in the idea of a self, a person, a living being, a lifespan. If you are caught up in the idea and that there is no dharma, you are still caught up in the idea of a self, a person, a living being, and a lifespan. That is why we should not get caught in the dharma or in the idea that dharma do not exist. This is the hidden meaning when the Tathagata say, Bhikkhu, you should know that all the teaching I give to you are wrong. All teaching must be about not to mention non-teaching. Session 7. What do you think, Softy? Had the Tathagata arrived at the high age more fulfilled, or can neither the Tathagata give any teaching? The Venerable Softy replied, as far as I have understood a lot Buddha teaching, there is no independently existing object of mind called the highest, more fulfilled the awakening mind, nor is there any independently existing teaching that the Tathagata gives. Why? The teaching that the Tathagata has relied and spoken of cannot be conceived of a separate independent system, therefore cannot be described. The Tathagata teaching is not self-existent, nor it is not self-existent. Why? Because the noble teacher are already distinguished from others in terms of unconditional. Section 8. What do you think, Softy? If someone were to fill the 3,000 chili kosam with the 7 pressure treasure as an act of generosity, would that person bring more happiness by the ritual act? The Venerable Softy replied, yes, Workahonored One. It is because the very nature of ritual and happiness and of ritual and happiness that the Tathagata is able to speak about ritual and happiness. The Buddha said, on the other hand, if there's someone who accepted the teaching, put them into practice, even if only a gata 4 lives and it lend them to someone else, the happiness brought about by this ritual act faces the happiness brought about by giving the 7 precious treasure. Why? Because something other than the dharma of the highest, more fulfilled, awakening mind of all Buddha right from the teaching something what they call Buddha Dharma is everything that is not Buddha Dharma. Section 9. What do you think, Softy? The stream entertain. I had then the fruit of stream enjoy. Softy replied, no, Workahonored One. Why stream enter mean to enter the stream? But in fact, there is no stream to enter. One does not enter a stream that is formed, nor a stream that is sound, smell, that thought, or object of the mind. That is what we mean when we say entering a stream. What do you think, Softy? The one returning. I have then the fruit of one returning. Softy replied, no, Workahonored One. Why? One return means to go and return one more, but in truth there no going, just there no returning. That is what we mean when we say one return. What do you think, Softy? There are non-return a thing like this. I have attained the root of no return. Softy replied, no, one. Why? No return means not to return to the work, but in fact there cannot be any non-return. That is what we mean when we say non-return. What do you think, Softy? There and I have thing like that. I have attained the root of ownership. Softy replied, no, one. Why there are no separately existing thing that can be called arhat? If an arhat replied to the talk that he had attained the root of ownership, then he still caught up in the idea of a self, a person, living being in a lifespan. One, you have often said that I have attained the concentration of a peaceful abiding that in the community. I am the arhat who had more strength from need and desire. One, if I were to think that I had attained the root of arhatship, you certainly would not have said that I love to do in the concentration of peaceful abiding. Session 10. The Buddha asked Softy, in an ancient time when the Tata practiced under Bodhidibakara, did he attain anything? Softy answered, no, one. In an ancient time when the Tata were practicing under the Bodhidibakara, he did not attain anything. What do you think, Softy? The Bodhisattva create a strange and beautiful but a few? No, one. Why? To create a strange and beautiful but a few. Now, in fact, creating a strange and beautiful but a few. That is why it is called creating a strange and beautiful but a few. The Buddha said, so Softy, all the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva should give right to a view and clear intention in the spirit. When they give right to the intention, they should not rely on form, sound, smell, taste, and tactile object or object of mind. They should give right to an intention with their mind not dull in any way. Softy, if there was someone with a body as big as mouth from Muru, would you say that he were a large body? Softy answered, yes, one very large. Why? What the Tata say not large body, that is now a large body. Section 11. Softy, if there were as many Ganga river as the number of grain of sand in the Ganga, would you say that the number of grain of sand on the Gangas is very many? Softy answered, very many indeed. one. If the number of Ganga river were huge, how much more so the number of grain of sand in all the Ganga river? Softy, now I want to ask you that if a doctor or son of a good family were to fill the 3,000 kilograms with that many precious jewels at the number of grains of sand in the Ganga River at an act of generosity, would that person bring more happiness by her virtual act? Softy replied, very much, one. The Buddha said to Softy, if a doctor or son of a good family know how to accept, practice, and implement this sutra to others, even if it is greater or four lives, the happiness that results from this virtual act would be far greater. Section 12. Furthermore, Softy, any plot of land on which the sutra is proclaimed, even if only Gata or four lines will be a land where God's men and Asura will come to make offering church, and they make offering to a sturba of the Buddha. If the plot of land is regarded as that scale, how much more so the person who practice and recite the sutra? Softy, you should know that the person attains something rare and profound. Whatever the sutra keep is a sacred site and tried in the presence of the Buddha, or one of the Buddha great discipline. Section 13. After that, Softy asked the Buddha, what should this sutra be called and how should we act regarding its teaching? The Buddha replied, this sutra should be called a diamond that cut through illusion because it had the capacity to cut through all illusion and uplift and bring us to the shore of liberation. Please use the title and practice according to its deepest meaning. Why the Tathagata has called the high transcendent understanding is not, in fact, the high transcendent understanding. That is why it's truly the highest transcendent understanding. The Buddha asked, what do you think, Softy? Is there any dogma that the Tathagata teach? Softy replied, the Tathagata had nothing to teach. one. What do you think, Softy? Are there many particles of dust in the 3,000 chikolo? So, very many one. Softy, the Tathagata say that the particles of dust are not particles of dust. That is why they are truly particles of dust. And what the Tathagata call chilocosm are not in fact chilocosm. That is why they call chilocosm. What do you think, Softy? Can the Tathagata be recognized by the possession of the 32 mark? The Venerable Shakti replied, no, Worker One. Why? Because that the Tathagata called the 32 marks are not sensual marks, and that is why the Tathagata called them the 32 marks. Subject. If at many times at the reign of Saint in the Ganga, a strong or doctor of a good family give up his or her life as an act of generosity, and if another doctor, son of a good family, know how to accept, practice, and implant the sutra to others, even if only a gather of 4 lives that have been resulting from implanting the sutra is far greater. Session 40. When he had heard it more and penetrated deeply into its significance, the Venerable Shakti was moved to tears. He said, Work 101. You truly ran this work since the day tend the eye of understanding, tend to the garden of the Buddha. I had never before heard teaching so deep and wonderful as this. Work 101. If someone hear this sutra, had pure and clear confidence in it, and a right and insight into the truth, that person will rely that rare kind of ritual. Work 101. That insight into the truth is essentially not insight. That is what the Tathagata calls insight into the truth. Work 101. Today, not difficult for me to hear this wonderful sutra. Have confidence in it, understand it, accept it, and put it into practice. But in the future, in 500 years, if there is someone who can hear this sutra, have confidence in it, understand it, accept it, and put it into practice, then certainly the existence of someone like that will be great and rare. Why? That person will not be dominated by the idea of a self or person. A living being or a last being. Why? The idea of a self is not an idea, and the idea of a person is being in a lifespan, and not idea either. Why? But are called Buddha because they are priests of idea. The Buddha said to Shakti, this is quite right. If someone hears this sutra and not terrified of pride, he or she is so rare. Why? Shakti Vaditaka Barama Pariramita. The high transcendent it is not essentially the high transcendent. And that is why I call the high transcendent. Shakti, the Tathagata has said that what is called transcendent endurance is not transcendent endurance. That is why it is called transcendent endurance. Why, Shakti? Thousands of time ago, when my body was cut into bits by King Kaliya, it was not caught in the idea of a self or person living being a lifespan. If at that time I had been caught up in any of the dull ideas, I would have felt anger, and it will again the king. I also remember in an ancient time, for 500 land time, I practiced transcendent endurance by not being caught up in the idea of a self or person living being a lifespan. So, Shakti, when a bodhisattva gives right to the unequal mind of awakening, he had to give up all idea. He cannot rely on form when he gives right to that mind, knowing the sound, smell, tact, or object of the mind. He can only give right to the mind that is not caught up in anything. The Tathagata has said that all notion and not notion, and that all living being and not living being. Shakti, the Tathagata is one who speaks of things as they are, speaks what is true, and speaks in accord with reality. He does not speak deceptively or to please people. Shakti, we say that Tathagata had relied teaching that teaching is neither respectful or nor deceptive. Shakti, a bodhisattva who still depends on notion to practice generosity, like someone walking in the dark. He will not see anything, but when a bodhisattva does not depend on notion to practice generosity, he is like someone with good eyesight walking under the bright light of the sun. He can see all shapes and colors. Shakti, if in the future then any daughter or son of good family who had the capacity to accept, read, and put into practice the sutra, the Tathagata will see that person with his eyes of understanding. The Tathagata will know that person, and that person will rely the measureless, limitless root of her or his virtual arm. Section 15. Shakti, if on the one hand, a daughter or son of good family give up her or his life in the morning at many times at the reign of saint in the Ganga at an act of generosity, and give at many again in the afternoon and at many again in the evening, and continue doing so for countless nights. And if on the other hand, another person listen to this sutra with complete confidence, without contention, that person happiness will be far greater. But the happiness of one who writes this sutra down, receive, recite, and explain it to others cannot be compared. In summary, this sutra brings about boundless joy and happiness that cannot be conserved or measured. If there is someone capable of receiving, practicing, reciting, and sharing this sutra with others, the Tathagata will see and know that person, and he or she will have inconceivable, indescribable, and incomparable victory. Such a person will be able to shoulder the heightened, more fulfilled, awakening character of the Tathagata. Why Sabti? If one is content with a small teaching, if he or she is still gagged of the idea of a self, a person living being a lifespan, he or she will not be able to listen, receive, recite, and explain the sutra to others. Sabti, and he play the sutra in front, he play where God, men, and sutra will come to make offering. Such a play is right and should be venerated with formal ceremonies, secure manipulation, and offering of flower and incense. Session sitting. Furthermore, Sabti, if a strong doctor of a good family while reciting and practicing the sutra is declared a slender, his or her immediate committed in bad life, including what that could bring about an evil destiny, will be eradicated, and he will attain the fruit of the more fulfilled awakening mind Sabti in an ancient time before I meet the Buddha Dibakara. I have made offering to and I had been attendant of all 84,000 multi-million of the Buddha. If someone is able to receive, recite, study, and practice this sutra in the last April, it happiness brought about by this visual act is 100,000 times greater than what which I brought about in an ancient time. In fact, such happiness cannot be conceived or compared with anything. Even mathematically, such happiness is immeasurable. Sabti, the happiness resulting from the visual act of a son or a doctor of good family who received, recite, study, and practice this sutra in the last epoch will be so great that if I were to explain it now in detail, some people would become suspicious and disbelieving, and then my mind become disordered. Sabti, you should know that the meaning of the sutra beyond conception discussion. Likewise, the truth resulting from the serving and practicing this sutra beyond conception and discussion. Section 17. At that time, the Venerable Sabti said to the Buddha, "What kind of one? Might I ask you again that if doctor or son of good family want to give right to the higher, more fulfilled awakening mind, what should they rely on and what should they to do master their thinking?" The Buddha replied, "Sabti, good son of doctor who want to give right to the higher, more fulfilled awakening mind should do in this way. We must let all be into the soul of awakening, but after the being has become liberated, we do not intrude things as a single being has been liberated. Why is so? Sabti, if a bodhisattva is still caught up in the idea of a self, a person living being of a lifespan, that person not an authentic bodhisattva. Why that? Sabti, in fact, they know independently existing objective of mind called the highest, more fulfilled awakening mind. What do you think, Sabti? In an ancient time when the Dada was living in the Buddha Dibakara, did he attain anything called the highest, more fulfilled awakening mind? No, what kind of one? According to what I understand from the teaching of the Buddha, they know attain anything called the highest, more fulfilled awakening mind. The Buddha said, "Right you are, Sabti. In fact, they do not exist the soul kind high, more fulfilled awakening mind that they had attains. Because if they had been a shock thing, Buddha Dibakana would not have predicted of me. In the future, you will become to be a Buddha called Sakyamuni. The prediction were made because there is in fact nothing that can be attained that is called the highest, more fulfilled awakening mind. Why? That means the searching of all things the Dharma, something would be taken to say that I had attained the highest, more fulfilled awakening mind, since there are not any highest, more fulfilled awakening mind to be attained. Sabti, the highest, more fulfilled awakening mind that I had attained is neither rapturable nor illusion. This is why the Gata has said all Dharma ever the Dharma. What we call all Dharma are in fact not all Dharma. That is why they call are all Dharma. Sabti, a comparison can be made with the idea of a right human body. Sabti said what the Tahata call a right human body is in fact not a right human body. Something is the same concerning Bodhisattva. If a Bodhisattva thinks that she had to liberate all living beings, then she is not yet a Bodhisattva. Why? Something they know independently sitting of trait of mind called Bodhisattva. Therefore, the Buddha has said that all that may act without a cell or version of living being in our lifespan. Something if a Bodhisattva thinks I had to create a strange and beautiful but they feel that person not yet a Bodhisattva. Why? What the Tata call strange and beautiful but they feel not in fact a strange and beautiful but they feel. And that is why it is called a strange and beautiful but they feel. Shakti and the Bodhisattva who really understanding the principle of non-self and non-that may call by the Tata and authentic Bodhisattva. I just finished the 70th chapter and I will come back later. Thank you for listening to me.